Hi everyone, and thank you so much for watching my channel, The Witty Turtle. My name is Anvesha, and as I had promised earlier, that I will come up with a series of operations management, which will also cover CMA final operational research. So today we are going to start with the first class of LPP, that is your linear programming problems, right? This particular chapter we have in CMA Inter, both old and new syllabus, also in CMA final SCM paper, that is your strategic cost management paper, in CMA final, both old and new syllabus, right? So before jumping into the video, I'll tell you something that I will cover three chapters basically, which is your linear programming problem, secondly transportation, and lastly your network diagram, which includes your CPM and PERT. Okay, so all these chapters I will cover here on my YouTube channel. If you have visited some of the playlists of my channel, then you might be knowing that I have already uploaded demand forecasting, assignment, queuing, and also simulation, right? So these topics are clear for your OMSM paper, right? Now, in the upcoming days, I'll upload another video which will be a OMSM guide, where I'll mention how to complete your OMSM syllabus and which all YouTube channels are there where you can, get free content, and which chapter you should do from which particular YouTube channel, right? And in how many days you can complete your entire OMSM syllabus. So you will say that I already have a video on this, but this video is going to be relevant for the new syllabus students, right? So without any further delay, let's start into the introduction video of linear programming problem. Okay, so now let's understand what is the meaning of linear programming, right? Linear means any linear equation, which is the equation of straight line, which we have been studying right from class 7 or 8, that is y equals to mx plus c. That is the equation of a straight line, which is known as linear equation. And also, programming means you have to process that linear equation. Programming means processing, right? And we have to process a linear equation in this case. But now, y equals to a plus bx or y equals to mx plus c, this is a very short linear equation. Like the normal linear equations can be bigger also. It can be like y equals to a plus bx plus cy plus dz, like this. Very big equations can be there. So how you have to process those bigger linear equations, all those things we are going to study in this particular chapter, right? Now, you might get a question, why processing is done, why the processing or the programming of linear equation is done. So the answer is that in operations management, or we can say in production and operations management, we generally solve problems which is regarding the production management, which is regarding the production of a particular product, and how you have to manage that production, that we generally study in OM, right? So LPP or linear programming problem helps mainly in preparing the mixture of a product. You have to prepare a particular mixture, like you have three things and you have to make another thing by mixing all these three products, right? So we have 4 points on which we need to understand to be able to solve a linear programming problem, right? So, what are those four things? The first one is that obviously to produce a finished good, we need more than one raw material, right? We need more than one products whom we can mix and produce another finished good. So, we need to identify which all raw material we need to mix in order to produce the finished good, right? Which all raw material. The second point says that whether those raw material are available abundantly, or they are limited in nature, or there is scarcity in availability of those raw materials, that also we need to identify. If you remember, then in marginal cost we have learned limiting factor or key limiting factor, right? where a particular material is not abundantly available, or we can say it is scarcely available, or the availability of that product is limited. So अगर आपके पास कम पानी है पीने के लिए तो आप बचा बचा कर ही पियोगे ना. You will use that water only when it is needed, right? Similarly, when you have any material, any raw material in limited quantity, then in that case also you have to use that raw material very tactfully. So to understand how to use those raw material and whether it is available scarcely or abundantly, we need LPP, right? The next point says that in what ratio you have to mix those raw material in order to produce the finished goods, right? एंड ऑब्वियसली जब आप कोई चीज़ बना रहे हो, फॉर एग्जाम्पल यू आर मेकिंग एनी बिरयानी, राइट? सो यू हैव टू mix all the masalas in a specific proportion, right? If you like increase the amount of any spice, then the taste will be ruined. Similarly, to produce any finished good, you have to mix all the raw material in a specific proportion. You cannot alter those proportions, right? So the third point is that you have to understand in what ratio you have to mix all those raw material. And lastly, the processing or the programming should be in your control. The processing of the raw materials and the entire production process should be in your control, right? Then only you will be able to produce the finished goods in a proper way, in a what do you call that, in a prompt way, right? So, four things why we need to understand LPP. First is that we need more than two raw material to produce a finished good. Second point is that the quantity of raw material which is available, whether that is abundant or that is scarcely available. The third point says that in what ratio or in what specific proportion you have to mix all the raw materials, that is important. And lastly, the processing of the raw materials should be in your control, right? I hope this is clear. So if you go through the new syllabus of both CMA Inter and CMA Final, then you can find some of the questions based on banking sector and insurance sector, or I think related to portfolio management or something. So nowadays, linear programming is also used in banking, insurance, and your SIP जो होता है आपका mutual fund. In all those situations also, in all those cases also, because in these cases money is the resource which is limited, right? Which is not abundantly available to any person. So you have to control the proportion of segregation of that limited amount of money in a proper way to get more yield or to get more returns, right? So in that case also, LPP is being used nowadays. You can find these questions in your new syllabus. Luckily, we old syllabus people don't have all those questions, but yeah, new syllabus में आपको मिल जाएगा. So by using LPP, we can achieve the goal. We can fulfill the target of the organization, that is either to maximize sales, revenue, or profit, or to minimize time, cost, and your labor. Right? That we have to reduce. So in linear programming questions, we generally don't have to solve an entire problem, but yes, we have to formulate the equations through which the problem can be solved. So whenever you get a question on linear programming problem, you have to be you have to first understand what is the objective of this particular question. You have to identify the objective, whether that is to minimize or to maximize. Whenever we are talking about profit or sales or revenue, then obviously it has to be maximized. And whenever it is asking for cost, time, or any kind of input or raw material, then it has to be minimized, right? And similarly, there are certain constraint functions and also some non-negative functions about which we will read in the next class. Now, another thing is that how many methods are there, right? How many methods are there in to solve any linear programming problem? So basically, there are two methods. one is graphical, and the second one is your simplex method. So this graphical method is used only when there are two variables, but the simplex method can be used anywhere. So generally you get questions where you have more than two variables. So most of the questions in your book you will get are based on simplex method only, but we will also understand graphical method, so you don't need to worry about that. And yes, um, in the next class on, I know this is a very short class, but as this is a introduction video, so that's fine. In the next class onwards we will solve the questions, we will understand how to present all those things in the examination. And yes, I will upload 3 videos every week. This is a very small video, but generally all the other videos will be 20 or 30 minutes long. So yes, very soon we will complete LPP, then we will go to transportation, and then we will go to your network diagram, right? I hope this is clear. So if you really find my video helpful and insightful, then do hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, The Witty Turtle, and also share this video with your CA, CMA, intern, and final, both old and new students or friends. And yes, don't forget to hit the bell icon so that you will be notified whenever I upload a new video.